propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCP chamber pressure looks good. Throttling up. Roger, roll with Atlantic.
Water towers can fly! Yes!
Echo down to nominal.
Sliding down by SC off.
SC off. Off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another live launch coverage here on NASA Spaceflight. You're looking live at Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Falcon 9 ready to launch another batch of Starlink satellites up to orbit. It's a busy morning in the space world, and we've got cameras all sorts of places to cover all sorts of things. We're going to start off with some dedicated coverage from the Space Coast. Actually, one Falcon 9 already in the air, though, here at Cape Canaveral. That's booster 1069 on the left-hand side of your screen. And that's being lifted off of just read the instructions right now. So we'll keep an eye on that as well while we wait for the Falcon 9 on the right-hand side of your screen to get in the air as well, launching today's Starlink mission. Let me know in chat if you can hear me. I'm already seeing a whole bunch of 5x5s, so sounds good to me. Thank you all so much for tuning in for today's launch. This is another Starlink mission, and my name is Thomas Burkhart, News Director for NASA Spaceflight, offering some commentary. It won't be just me, of course. I'm going to go down the list of who else we have on comms. Here in the studio with me, not right next to me, different studio, but you know the drill. Alex is on comms today. Alex, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Just amazed by all the activity that SpaceX is having just today. It's crazy.
It is very busy. I'm going to have to give a rundown of everything that's happening because it's not just the Falcon 9s in action today. But before we do that, I also want to introduce out in the field, bringing us that right-hand side camera view today, is Chris Gebhardt, Assistant Managing Editor for NASA Spaceflight. Chris, how you doing this morning?
Doing absolutely wonderful. Happy to be here at the Rocket Ranch for a Starlink launch today.
Sounds great. We've got some other folks on commentary as well, out back in the studio helping us operate today and push all the buttons that bring all the different cameras of all the different things to you is John Galloway, better known as DOS. DOS, how you doing this morning?
Hey, it's me. I'm here clicking on some buttons, so we will see all the interesting things going on.
We've got the team out in full force because there are a lot of things to cover. Also out in the field today is Julia Bergeron for NASA Spaceflight. Julia, how's the weather looking, and what is it, a good morning to go to space?
It looks like a good morning to go to space. To me, it is sunny out. For Florida, it's a little bit cool. I cannot say that there's a lot of big crowds, but that's not unexpected on a work day and a Starlink launch. So I'm out on US 1, and we'll see what we can see.
All right, and last but not least, we got Michael Baylor in the background, pushing buttons, pulling levers, etc., also operating today's stream. So thank you, Michael, for your support. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. As you can see, we got a range helicopter flying behind the Falcon 9 there. There we go. But you can also see some frost forming on the bottom of the Falcon 9 first stage, giving us that indicator that fueling is underway. It's been underway for a few minutes now, and SpaceX is into the propellant load sequence for today's Starlink mission. Today's launch is targeting a liftoff at 10:50 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 14:50 UTC. 54 Starlink satellites on board headed to Shell 4 of the Starlink constellation. And this is booster 1062 making its 10th flight. So a heavily reused booster. Don't think we have the exact word on the fairings, but I would imagine the fairings are likely also being reused. SpaceX using a lot of flight-proven hardware to up their Starlink launch cadence. And so, as always...
Thomas.
Oh, go ahead, Julia.
You know that they did bring back 2 fairing halves from the last mission when they brought back 1069, and those flew 5 times as of this last mission. So
All right.
anybody's guess with these fairings, but they're definitely being reused.
Sounds good. And so we got a lot of things to keep tabs on. Obviously, our near-term focus is going to be on this launch, although that Falcon 9 in port is also being raised off of the drone ship after completing the Hotbird 13F mission last week. And so that booster back in port and ready to be prepared for its next mission. But our eyes are going to be on this Falcon 9 about to get in the air in just under 27 minutes for today's Starlink launch. Also keeping an eye on Starbase, and I think you can expect some dedicated coverage later if Ship 24 gets another lift. But Ship 25 is being lifted onto the suborbital Pad A stand to begin its test campaign. So we got 2 different SpaceX vehicles under crane-assisted takeoffs right now. And, of course, we've got cameras pointed at all of them. and we'll see. I wonder. I would imagine that they're going to finish that lift before Falcon 9 lifts off, because otherwise that'd have to be a record of like 3 SpaceX vehicles in the air at once. But anyway, as always, we'll take some questions throughout the stream. So if you have any questions, tag us at NASASpaceflight in chat, and we'll take as many of those as we can. But otherwise, Chris, want to give us just a brief rundown of the parameters of today's Starlink mission?
I sure would, because it's a milestone, Thomas. I know that might come as a surprise to you with SpaceX here today, but we have a milestone for Starlink today. So this mission is the Starlink 4-36 mission. It is aiming to place 54 more Starlink satellites into the fourth orbital shell, which operates at 51.2, or which operates basically at 52 degrees inclination to Earth's equator, at roughly 550 kilometers circular in their operational orbits. The addition of these 54 today will bring the total number of launched Starlink satellites to 3,505. So it will cross the 3,500 mark here today with this launch. Of those 3,500, including the 54 on today's mission, 275 of them have already re-entered, 63 of them are non-maneuvering and will re-enter at some point, and 2,700 are in their operational orbits. So some good fill out of the constellation, but that in a nutshell is what the main purpose of today's mission is. It is the standard 15-minute ascent profile. For today, with the Starlink separating about 15 minutes after liftoff in an initial 232 by 336 kilometer orbit. And the first stage, which we just went over, which is B1062-10, will land approximately 630 kilometers downrange on a shortfall of gravitas. And then the payload fairings will be picked up about another 100 kilometers downrange by the recovery vessel Doug. And then I think the only other thing to say is this is the 63rd dedicated Starlink mission for SpaceX, and it is their 5th flight of the Falcon 9 this month alone, with one more liftoff scheduled as we went to publication this morning, which the mission that is expected to follow this one, from Florida at least, is the Falcon Heavy with USSF 44. But that, in a nutshell, is where we are and why we are here today for this particular mission.
All right, Chris, and really quick, I'm going to jump in there. Thank you for the overview, but I'm going to have to actually step away because NSF is now going to split into dual stream mode because we got a chopsticks lift underway in Starbase. So I'm going to bow out. I'm going to leave you with Das, Chris, and Alex and Julia to cover the Starlink launch. And I recommend if you have 2 monitors or at least screen real estate on 1 monitor to spool up another stream. We're going to start some dedicated coverage of the Starbase activities as well. But Das, over to you for Starlink 436.
Okay, well, I will continue talking about Starlink because I was getting ready to show this, which is they're putting down Ship 25 on one of the suborbital mounts there at Starbase, and then also they're lifting something with the chopsticks, lifting Ship 24 back up with the chopsticks, and then we have the Falcon 9 that's being lifted at the port, and then we have a rocket that's going to lift itself, I guess. Here, I mean, look at this. Here's another thing being lifted out behind the ship there. But there is a lot going on today. We will continue to cover it all for you here. Like Thomas said, they are going over to spool up a dedicated Starbase stream for what's going on at Starbase, but we are here for you for the next T-minus 22 minutes before we get this launch out of Slick 40 at the Cape. Whew,
And
Chris, how are you?
And I'm doing good. I'm doing definitely
So
good
many
here.
things.
And yeah, I mean, this is amazing, right? So many SpaceX vehicles in the air, another one about to be in the air, yet only one under its own power. So
Right.
lots of CATOs, right? Crane assisted takeoffs, as we've been
Yeah, I
calling
guess
them.
it's either a crane-assisted takeoff or a chopstick-assisted takeoff. I guess it could be a Chato.
Ooh, a Chato, I like that. Ah, see, like keeping the ball rolling with it. But
There
if
you
we are
go.
22 minutes away from liftoff, that actually means that RP1 fueling into the second stage of Falcon 9 has wrapped up, as RP1 kerosene and liquid oxygen loading into stage 1 continues simultaneously onto the first stage. But the second stage is a little bit different. in terms of how they do it, they load the commodities one at a time, RP1 kerosene first, and then they have to stop and they have to purge the lines, the fuel lines in the transporter erector to make sure there isn't an accidental ignition when they switch over to liquid oxygen. And that big purge we're going to see here in about 40 seconds. It comes around 2020. And that is the big T minus 20-minute vent, which purges the transporter erector and gets it all ready for the fueling of the liquid oxygen into stage 2, which will begin at T minus 16 minutes.
All right. So again, folks, we are standing by. It's going to be a little difficult to see the T minus 20-minute vent because that car's in the way. No, I'm kidding. That car went by. The sky's a little bit gray.
It's not going to be in our way anymore. They just parked.
Okay, good. So Chris, if you start to see that vent, let us know. I think that's it, isn't it?
And that is most likely it. Yes, indeed.
Okay.
And I just heard a call out. Stage 2 RP1 load is complete.
Yeah, in fact, to the naked eye, that is far more prevalent than it is on the camera with the way the lighting stuff is working here. But yes, that is our big T minus 20-minute event going on as usual.
All right. So that means that the Falcon 9 is marching towards its expected liftoff less than 20 minutes here, carrying the Starlink 436 mission up to space. And we will cover this. We'll cover what's going on at Starbase. We got cameras everywhere. I think today we actually have more cameras involved with these streams than we have people, which is cool.
I think you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
The robot army's taking over.
You've achieved your goal, Das.
I'm going to replace everybody. Nice.
Somewhere the ones raiding in your garage are happy and smiling.
Hey, wait a minute, Das, didn't we reach the robot army birthday? I think that happened yesterday, didn't it?
Fleet Cam, yeah. Fleet Cam was what, the 2-year anniversary of Fleet Cam?
I feel
yes, it was.
Really guilty that I was at work and not at port celebrating. I am so sorry, Fleet Cam. I am so sorry.
That was the 2-year anniversary of bringing Fleet Cam to the public over there at the port. Of course, now Fleet Cam is one of the many cameras in our constellation for Space Coast Live. But Fleet Cam proper, like the original NSF remote camera, has been running for more than 2 years. We ran it for a couple weeks before we made it public, but it's been public, that stream, for over 2 years now. Nice, Julia. Thanks for reminding me of that. Okay. So we've got some questions here that we can run through really quickly. T minus 18 and a half minutes about.
Awesome sauce.
I will toss some over to you, Chris, if you could. And we'll start with this one because this is one of those interesting thought experiment questions. If SpaceX absolutely needed to, could they land 2 boosters on one drone ship?
Probably not. They're a little bit small for that. And the boosters, the way the sort of landing systems work, when Falcon Heavy was first entering service back in 2018, there was the original thought that they were actually going to have to stagger the boosters coming back by about 30 seconds so that their systems and their radars and the communication things would not interfere with one another. And then they sort of realized, oh no, like they on landing zones 1 and landing zones 2 here at the Cape, which are farther apart than a drone ship is wide, that they could come down together like that. So if they ever needed to do a dual sea recovery of Falcon 9 side cores, they would deploy both drone ships and they would each have their own dedicated ship, and then the center core would be expended. And that's actually what they were planning to do with the USSF 44 mission coming up here at the end of the month from pad 39A, but that had a bit of a payload mass change, is as far as I'm willing to go with that one. And now they actually can perform return to launch site landings of the 2 side boosters. So in about 10 days, when Falcon Heavy lifts off under its current schedule, the 2 side boosters will come back to landing zones 1 and 2, and the center core will have to be ditched into the Atlantic, not because a drone ship is not possible to put out there to get it, but because mission performance actually means you need to drain basically all of the propellants out of it to leave the second stage with enough propellant to do its job.
Gotcha. So while it's maybe something that you could do in Kerbal Space Program, I've seen that done a couple times.
Yes.
Not something that they would try in real life. They do have 2 drone ships stationed over there on the East Coast, and if they needed to land 2 boosters, they would go for 2 drone ships instead of trying to cram 2 onto a single ship. It's an interesting question, but it seems like
is.
something that it would be cool to see. I'll tell you that much.
It really
Hey,
would, and something they had thought of. Yep.
hey, Brett Person, thank you so much for joining the membership program, becoming a Capcom member. We appreciate the support there. The member program's a cool way to get behind the scenes content and access to our Discord. If you feel like chatting incessantly on the internet, there is a lot of chatting incessantly that happens in the Discord. Thank you so much for joining us there. And we've got, let's see, Alloy00 says, how long from deployment do satellites take to reach final orbit? Are they functional immediately, or does that happen after final orbit is attained? That's a question specific to Starlink satellites, right, Chris?
It is, and there's sort of the way you ask the question, there are two answers to it. So in general, it can take a couple of months for the Starlinks to be checked out and then raised up to their operational 550-kilometer orbit if they really needed to go as fast as possible. Obviously, if this is about to break 3,500 and there are 2,700 of them in their operational orbits, it's not like they go all out, all out, all out, all out, but it does take a couple of months to raise them up to that operational orbit. However, when you say when do they become functional, they are technically functional as soon as they come off the top of the Falcon 9. And they're technically functioning right now. Like if there was a dead one on board, they would know that already. And they would just accept launching 53 live ones and one not operational Starlink. But as far as we know, all 54 are operational. But they have actually launched before with non-operational Starlinks on board.
Just knowing that they already toast instead of trying to
Exactly.
destack everything and replace one, the getting the other ones into orbit was more important than the one that was going to not be good, I guess.
Exactly. Heck of a lot cheaper to just let the one or two that aren't functioning decay naturally within a few days.
Yep.
Based on the low deployment orbit, than scrap an entire launch, roll back, destack. Yeah.
Makes sense. And a real quick update from Starbase. Ship 24 is more than halfway up the booster out there. They are doing a chopsticks lift of Ship 24 while they're T-minus 14 minutes away from the launch of the Cape, while they're lifting a Falcon 9 in the port, while they're lifting Ship 25 with a crane onto the suborbital test stand. SpaceX very busy putting rockets in the air, I guess you could say, here today. So we are doing commentary for that stream as well. In fact, when we're done here, we'll probably send you over to that commentary stream. But NSF, because of your support, is able to cover all of the different things that are going on. We'll focus on this stream on the Starlink launch from the Cape for now, and I will grab another question. Let's see. Here's a good one, Chris. Do we know what the next RTLS will be for a Falcon 9?
For a Falcon 9, I will need to actually look, but I can do you one better. What if you got 2 return to launch sites for the price of 1?
There you go.
The next return to launch site is Falcon Heavy in 11 days. Falcon Heavy with USSF 44 is scheduled to launch classified mission for the U.S. Space Force on October 31st, and both of the side cores will perform dual return to launch site landings. So get ready for Falcon 9 landing Olympics. Yes.
Nice. And that is coming up in just, I'm going to say a couple days. It's already October 20th. Good grief. Out there at the Cape. So if you're a fan of RTLS landings, be on the lookout for 2 of them to be coming back in for that Falcon Heavy launch. Let's see here. We're going to keep grabbing some other questions as well. Find one. We do a lot. Yeah, Chris, thank you so much. So Chris Watt with some kind words. You guys are amazing. We've done a lot of work to be prepared for stuff like this, and we've got the team to cover multiple things happening at the same time. So thank you so much. Again, we're able to do it because of your support. Yeah, and Chris, I'm just going to say it out loud. That looks better.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, all right, we get a little bit more contrast on the rocket there. It's a little bit less washed out. Thank you for sorting the camera there.
My pleasure.
All right. Let's
Everyone needs to see the cool rocket. Yes.
I know, exactly, right? It's full-blown rocket mania today. Nice, Gonzalo. I'm just scrolling through questions here. Hazel, how many are... Oh, here's a good question. Chris, you had mentioned that there were like 3,500 Starlinks that had been launched. The question is, how many are still in orbit?
Yes. So of
Don't
that
expect
number,
you to know that off the top of your head.
I do actually. If you include the 3,505 includes the 54 that are launching today, 275 have re-entered. And 63 are non-operational and will re-enter here in the next few months. So in terms of how many are still up there, 3,500 minus 3,505 minus 275 gives you the answer.
Gotcha. That's almost 10%.
Uh,
200 plus 64
yeah.
on orbit is almost 300. I mean, it's a little bit over 300 out of 3,500 total launched, but that's sort of the nature of it. Some of these were, what's the right way to say it? I don't want to say they were developmental
So
satellites, but
yeah, so 62 of them were developmental and never meant to be part of the constellation to begin with. Which was sort of that first batch and the 2 Tintins that launched
yep.
originally. So yeah, there's some wiggle room depending on how exactly you want to classify it in terms of how many operational ones they've lost. But yeah, I mean, but overall, deploying the number that they've said and talking about the losses and some of those too might not be like, oh, it didn't work. Some of them might just be they deorbited them because they wanted to because better ones were coming. Right,
Right.
which is sort of all part of the constellation management process they have talked about,
Makes sense.
and everything. Yeah, yeah.
All right. So where are we at in the countdown? We are now under 10 minutes away from the launch out of Slick 40 over here at the Cape. Folks, if you're watching this stream and you can hear our voices, that is a Falcon 9, and it's got Starlink satellites on board, 54 of them on board out at Cape Canaveral. We're expecting that launch now in less than 10 minutes, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
You were going to say indeed, weren't you?
I totally was. Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yes, my
Okay.
catchphrase.
Hey, Michael Stein, thank you so much for the super chat. And then also Brian Blunt, thank you for becoming a PadRad member, joining the membership program there as well. Let's see here. Here is an interesting question. This is from Kev Newman. And Kev Newman is asking, when will the 2023 calendar be available in the NSF shop? And boy, do I have an answer for you. If you go to the NSF shop right now, Kev, shop.nasaspaceflight.com, you can find our NSF calendars for 2023 already available. We've just launched those, just like literally just now as we started the stream. And hello, people walking in front of our camera. That's all cool, whatever. But the calendars are available right now, and I say calendars, plural, multiple calendars, because we have 2 different style calendars for 2023. We've got the Starbase centric calendar, which of course is a bunch of Starship program imagery coming out of Starbase from Nick and Mary and Jack and all of our photographers that have captured things out there. And if, I don't know, you got multiple rooms in your house and you need calendars in each, we also have a spaceflight calendar that is not just focused on Starbase or Starship. In fact, the cover of it there is that SRB test that Jack caught out in Utah. So both of those calendars are available right now if you want to pick one up. Remember, in order to do the shipping the best way possible, there are actually 2 different options. There's US-Canada calendar version for US-Canada shipping, and there's shipping to all other countries. So make sure you choose the correct one that you need in order to get it shipped your way. And if you are interested, but wait, there's more. Okay, anyways,
Yes,
there is
exactly.
actually a discount if you want to get both calendars. So the calendars are $40 each, but if you want to get one of each calendar, you can buy them both together for $20 off, and both calendars are $60 for the set of 2. The Starship calendar or Starbase calendar, you can see here. You can actually go to the site, you can see all the images and stuff. I mean, we got flyby images in the whole shooting match of things out there. And then we've also got the spaceflight calendar, which has more spaceflight generic things. Now, Chris, you may very well have to run up and tell that truck that they are in the
Yep,
shop.
that's what I am going to go do right now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so that is the spaceflight calendar. That is a great question there, Kev. Those 2023 calendars available right now, ready to be produced and shipped if you are interested in picking up one of them. Just go to shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Actually, I'm on a special page. Here is shop.nasaspaceflight.com, and you can see the headline right there is the 2023 calendars ready to go. Just click shop. It'll take you over to that page. But let's get, there's a reason I'm still on the calendars, y'all. People have sort of set up in front of our shot here, and they're just parked in the truck, like watching So that's why I still have it cropped like this. And I think Chris is walking up here at T-minus 6 minutes to ask that truck why they've driven off the road and parked in the grass. Not sure what the logo on the side says, so we should probably be careful about exactly what we say to these people. Anyways, we are now coming up just under 6 minutes for the launch at the Cape. Looks like we do have someone over telling them to back up because they're in the way. And then we're looking that way. Why are you on the grass? Anyways, I think that's going to be sorted here shortly.
I love how it's like not a very big media day out there yet somehow.
Look, the brake lights in the truck are on, so that's a good sign. Or the reverse lights, actually. There goes the truck. Windy day, too. Okay. Everybody breathe a sigh of
Front row
relief.
Yeah.
seats.
Okay, Chris, we all good?
We are good, yes.
Well, thank you for sorting that. You never know. Nobody expects the truck to drive into your shot like that, but we got it sorted.
We did. We should be good. Everyone knows they're going to, like, aside from the one person walking right now, the gap should be clear for liftoff, yes.
I think next time we may have to go closer to that little rope so people can't get in front of us, I guess.
We did. I literally thought it was going to be like 3 people here. So I prioritized the shot instead of proximity to the shot. So yes, now I know the lesson.
Yes. Okay. Well, Chris, if you could give us a little bit of a recap here at T-minus 4 minutes, I've got to get some technical things done on my end if you could real quick.
Yeah, of course. So we are here for the launch of the Falcon 9 rocket with 54 Starlink internet satellites here in just about 4.5 minutes. Right now, the first stage is in engine chill, thermally conditioning those 9 Merlin engines on the base of the Falcon 9 to get ready for ignition. The fueling is still ongoing at this point and will wrap up in about 2 minutes. Right now, we are also having the pre-pullback of the transporter erector to the 88.5-degree position. And then at T-minus 3 seconds, we will get ignition commanded of the 9 Merlin engines, followed by liftoff 3 seconds later at T0. Ultimate goal is to place 54 Starlink satellites into an initial deployment orbit 15 minutes after liftoff here today. The booster in question is B1062, making its 10th flight. This particular Falcon 9 booster has been responsible for 2 GPS-3 missions, 2 Crew Dragon flights, Nilesat 301, and 4 Starlink missions to date for its career. Bit of a milestone here today, too, as this will bring the total number of Starlink satellites launched to 3,505, completing SpaceX's desire to continue building out the Starlink constellation for internet access throughout the world. And with that, we've got about 3 minutes remaining at this point until we have a liftoff of the Falcon 9. You can see the transporter erector there has pulled back to its pre-launch position. At T0, it will throw back to the 45-degree position to protect itself for rapid turnaround for the next mission that will come off of this launch pad. And at T-minus 2 minutes, 39 seconds and counting, fueling at this point is beginning to wrap up. And we should see final closeouts and a final big purge of the Falcon 9 here ahead of our anticipated liftoff.
All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much. And at T-minus 2 minutes, we will go ahead and bring our audio up from the field so we get those rocket rumbling noises. Interesting, there will be some people in the shot, it looks like here, folks out there at the press site watching the launch today. I guess it's not really a sense of scale. These people are miles away from the rocket. But anyways, just expect we may have some people walking over there. Hopefully they don't take a step to their left. But let's bring up that field microphone here. Chris, you good to go?
I am good to go if I'm good to track, yeah.
All right, good deal. Well, I will cut you loose until after the rumble fades, and we will listen into the rocket here now, 1 minute and 45 seconds away from launch.
Sounds good. Enjoy, everyone.
Nice. We actually got a little echo on Chris with the enjoy everyone there, but that is just fine. Big final purge happening on the Falcon 9. That is a normal thing that we expect to see during the launches. That is completely anticipated. And we are watching with multiple different cameras. A lot of clouds in the sky today here. If you look at the wider shot here, there are a lot of clouds in the sky. Honestly, a lot of people in the shot as well. Either the clouds or the people may impede our viewing ability today. But we are coming up. Okay. I don't know what we're going to be able to do here, Chris, but T-minus 60 seconds, and just anticipate this being a crowd shot with folks out there at the press side. Please don't stand right in front of the rocket. It's okay if you frame the rocket for us, but please don't block the exact shot. I think we're good. Coming up on T-minus 30 seconds here, folks. Everybody send good vibes to the folks that are out there enjoying the launch today, and hope that they stand exactly where they're standing right now for the next 20 seconds. Good grief. And under 10 seconds now. Chris, if you haven't yet, hit record on your camera, and let's see if we get a liftoff here. Like we have ignition, strong back goes away, and Falcon 9 has taken off from Slick 40 out at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, going into a cloudy sky here, carrying 54 Starlink satellites up into orbit. Nice shot with the bird there, by the way. Beginning to pitch down range, and we will expect that rumble to reach our microphones. I will let you listen in. Already well into the clouds, it looks like. Don't have any visual on it. Just an overcast day out there today. Even looking down from the rocket, here we go. Looks like SpaceX has one at a bit of an angle where we can see Falcon 9 through the clouds. Vehicle now going through max Q. You can see that vapor trail starting to form behind it, and the rumble fading out from our microphone there.
It is
Falcon 9 pitches
indeed.
downrange. How was it, Chris?
Oh, wonderful. The clouds actually amplified the sound, which was always really nice. Although I think we would have wanted to see it a bit more, but so far so good. I mean, we can still hear it crystal clear to the ear.
Nice.
And the
There you-
VAB did the Scooby-Doo swamp monster sound, so that was
The
nice. Yeah.
swamp monster sound. There you can see that
I
plume
like
expansion.
that.
The Merlin 1D engines down there on the bottom starting to spread out as there's less and less atmosphere to constrain them. Julia, how was your view?
My view was about like Chris's view. There's people still trying to find the rocket, and we heard it. I saw it for about 3 seconds.
Nice, a couple seconds of a rocket and then a view of the clouds, huh?
Yeah, but I didn't get the good Scooby-Doo sound today, which
Mm.
that's kind of sad.
And you can see those clouds we were talking about there as she ascends. It was a gorgeous cloudless morning until about 30 minutes before liftoff, which was fun.
Should be
As
coming up
Florida
on
weather goes.
Miko and stage separation. There we go. See an ignition on that upper stage. And we will see a little bit of plume
There we
interaction
go.
there. Watch for the fairing to come off here too, right, Chris?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, they have. There we go. Yeah, they happen very, very quickly for the Starlink missions.
All right, you can see the fairing sort of tumbling along behind the second stage on the right-hand side of your view there, as on the left-hand side, the grid fins on the booster deploy. Booster is going to get flipped back around. It will have an entry burn here coming up as it re-enters the thicker parts of the atmosphere. It's still in the atmosphere technically, but it'll be re-entering the thicker parts of the atmosphere, and it is headed down range to land on the drone ship. Julia, where is it going today?
It is going to the northeast, which is the flight trajectory. They are about 630 kilometers off the coast of South Carolina.
All right. So it will be landing on the drone ship off the coast of South Carolina today, a couple hundred kilometers off, and we will
And
continue
it is
to.
ASOG, a
It's
short fall of
ASOG. Thank you.
gravitas.
Short fall of
Yes.
gravitas. Excellent. The new fancy one, right? The one that's all painted black and
Yes.
looks very futuristic.
Yes,
The
a
the pretty
fancy
new
one,
one. Yes.
The pretty new one. It almost looks
if you
like the
were
Monitor
a
Merrimack.
ship at night,
Yeah.
if you were a ship at night out in the ocean, I think you'd be hard pressed to find it out there. So it's a
Ah,
ninja.
that's why it's escorted most of the time, or I guess escorted. It's tended, accompanied by another one of the ships that actually takes it out there, right, Julia?
Yeah, that is part of it. It does actually transmit its own keep out zone though, which is kind of cool.
Ah,
Oh, it does.
it like beeps at you or yells at
Yes,
you if
it
you get too
does.
close.
Well, sort of. I mean, imagine there isn't a Coast Guard all the way out there in the middle of the ocean, so it,
Mm,
it does give a hazard warning to ships that are nearby.
nice.
Nice.
And you can see here again the two cameras, folks. The left-hand side camera, that is the booster that is going to be landing on the drone ship, Shortfall of Gravitas. On the right-hand side, that is the upper stage, the second stage of the Falcon 9. That actually has the starships attached to the top, the Starlinks attached to the top of it, off sort of behind the camera here. And it is going to continue accelerating. You can see in the lower right-hand corner how that speed keeps increasing, over 11,000 kilometers per hour now. That is that upper stage trying to get going orbital velocity, as the left-hand
And
camera, the first stage, starts to, well, it's actually getting pulled down by gravity, so it's accelerating too, but not under engine power. That's literally just potential energy turning into kinetic energy, because that's how gravity works when something is, well, high up in the air and not supported by like a tower or something. How's that?
I love it. And what I love about these views too, and the velocities that they show on both of them isn't just what you said for the first stage coming back, right? And how gravity affects your velocity. It's how much of the velocity change for the orbital stage is done in the very, very, very final seconds of the flight, because we're looking for roughly 27,000 kilometers per hour for orbital velocity.
Yep.
And you can see we're nowhere close to that right now with 2 minutes of powered flight remaining. So
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely. It's I mean, it's really cool. The thing to think about with orbits or trajectories is you've got two types of energy that you're dealing with. You've got your kinetic energy, which is motion, right? You've got potential energy, which, well, there's lots of different potential energies. Rocket fuel is one way to store potential energy. Altitude is also another way to store potential energy. It's just energy that is not you moving, but can turn you into a movement, I guess you could say. And that is exactly what we see in all different parts of the orbit here. You can see the upper stage, it's actually turning its potential energy that's stored in the fuel tank in the form of rocket fuel into kinetic energy, right? It's accelerating itself. It's blowing up the rocket propellant. It's throwing it out the back. The nozzle that's glowing red there, you can see that's actually helping the fuel, or helping the explosion, continue going one direction. And on the left-hand side, you've got an entry burn.
We have
Same.
what you were talking about, that potential slowing it down, right?
Yep.
Instead of speeding it up. Yeah.
That is exactly what's happening on the left-hand side now. It's got potential energy stored in the fuel tanks in the form of chemical fuels, and you create a reaction with that fuel, you turn it into energy, and you throw it out the back of the rocket, and then Newton says that you get an equal and opposite reaction. And what just happened there, instead of accelerating, they used that energy to decelerate the first stage as it sort of came into the thicker parts of the atmosphere there. I guess it entered the atmosphere, entered the thicker parts of the entrosphere. That's why they call it the entry burn.
And then look at that. Look at the air. Just the air resistance now is what's slowing it down. 34, 33, 30. Just incredible velocity changes that just air pressure can do in the dense lower atmosphere as well.
Yep, that is that atmospheric drag or aerodynamic drag acting on the vehicle. No need to turn fuel into energy here. They're literally just using the air to help slow them down. As the Falcon 9 is now almost 1,000 kilometers per hour. I'm trying to like zoom in and squint at that.
It's
But
kilometers.
it is
Yeah.
kilometers. Yeah, it's approaching the drone ship out there in the Atlantic.
And you can
So
see those
Das,
vapors down at the bottom.
Yep. Go ahead, Julia.
can you experience drag like that doing a simple experiment if you're a passenger in a car, maybe say with your car window down?
Oh gosh, I thought you were going to ask me to jump out of an airplane or something. But
Oh,
you can
no, I mean, that would
absolutely.
be great.
Yep.
Yeah, we could
Oh,
do that with a parachute, Dust, with a parachute.
And we've got the drone ship here real quick.
I think that's my favorite view all the time when the little tiny drone ship just appears. Like,
There goes the landing leg deploy. Smooth video and a shadow all the way down. Look at
look at
that,
that.
folks.
Bullseye.
Bullseye
Oh, so
again.
pretty. So pretty.
Ah,
It-
and look, we have had stage 2 cut off at 27,000 kilometers an hour. We're in orbit too.
Almost at the same time. It's almost like they planned it.
Funny how that
Huh.
works.
So that looks to be, from the video on the screen, a successful landing of the booster on the drone ship Shortfall of Gravitas out there in the Atlantic Ocean. Will be a couple days for that to return back to port, but remember, you will be able to see that live here on our Space Coast live stream. We've got the 24/7 cameras around the Space Coast. Look at the venting there. And you will see this drone ship and this booster come back into port and get processed, much like we see the booster, well, sort of being processed at the port right now. There's a bulk cargo ship sort of in the way there, but it's being processed. You can see the crane in the booster. But let's see. Chris, I don't think you're in a
Yeah.
huge hurry today, right?
I am in no hurry whatsoever.
All right. Well, since we are now on the trajectory screen, there is a Starlink deployment coming up, but it looks like SpaceX is ending their stream before they show us the deployment. So I'm going to cut over to my favorite camera on launch day.
Yes.
That is Slick 40 Space Launch Complex 40 out of Cape Canaveral Space Force Station down in Florida. Strong back, retracted back away from the rocket, which is no longer there. The launch pad's empty because we just got to see an awesome launch of a Falcon 9 carrying the Starship 4-36 mission up into orbit. Chris, Julia, how y'all feeling here today?
I'm feeling good. It's a good way to begin Rocket Mania Day.
A rocket
Absolutely. I have no
mania.
complaints. Rocket Mania. Oh, yeah.
Did you get any cool?
I have a
well,
booster to visit in port.
I guess I know the answer with the cloud layers today. Probably not a great chance of a streak shot or anything, Julia.
Yeah, no streak shot. And I have one shot of a rocket with a small crowd that was in front of me that I will share in a little while. But y'all, it was not spectacular as far as launch photos go. It was practical.
It was more of a visceral day where you get to experience it through sound and other senses besides sight, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. It was a lesson in sound and yeah.
As
We'll
much
just-
as you do want to see them when you're here, like if you have the opportunity to see multiple ones of them, there is something nice to just be said about like it disappears into the clouds and then you just hear it and you experience
Yeah.
it that way only.
Yeah. It really is the one thing, like, I don't care what sort of speakers you have or what sort of microphone we put out, nothing really matches the experience of being there at the Cape for a launch and sort of feeling that sound wave hit you in the chest as the rocket rumbles to orbit. So it
Yep.
really is something that you feel, like you literally feel in your body whenever the rocket takes off. That sound is energy that just shakes you like a bowl of jello. That doesn't sound right. You know what I
Well,
mean,
Yes.
though.
Yeah, not Jello. And I can
Okay.
tell you that every launch is a different experience because it depends on what the cloud cover is like, what direction the winds are going. Chris's experience is very different than my experience.
Yep.
So it is kind of cool if you can see more than one launch. At the cadence we're doing right now, chances are if you schedule a launch vacation, you may not necessarily see the launch you came here for, but you will see something or you will see a booster come back into port. Trust me, I don't know about
What
you, Chris, but it's busy
I,
here.
I've it is. What I've kind of been saying to people is, look, if you choose a mission to come from, you're almost certainly going to get a bonus Starlink out of it.
There you go.
So just aim for a non-Starlink, and you will get a Starlink out of it.
You'll get a Starlink.
there's-
Nice.
That is absolutely true.
Real quick update over from Starbase as well, folks. You saw at the beginning of the stream the chopsticks on Mechzilla there were raising Ship 24 back up to create another full stack. And if it's not all the way down, it's really close to all the way down right now. So you can see out at Starbase as well, we're doing a commentary stream covering that. Half of our team here split off to do a second stream at the same time. So that is going to continue on. If you want to continue following along with that, I believe they're still doing the stream here or stream there. And we do have one more quick thing. Again, folks, if you are interested in supporting what we do out here with NASA Spaceflight, whether it's coverage of Starbase or launches going on to Vandenberg or things that are, did I just say Vandenberg? Anyways, you know what I mean.
I appreciated it, but
Vandenberg, or launches here out of the Cape, you can support us with a new product we just launched today, those NSF calendars, the 2 different versions of calendars. We've got one that's very SpaceX and Starship centric, and we've got one that is generic spaceflight, covering all sorts of different vehicles and ways that we get to space. 2 different calendars there. They're normally $40 each. Oh, geez, Dust, that's so expensive. It's because a good portion of that goes to support what we do. It's not just like the cheap calendar you run into Walmart and pick up for $5 or whatever. A lot of this comes right back to us so we can continue to deploy cameras, provide coverage, provide commentary, all the different things that we do. But if you want to get $20 off, I was going to do the thing. Chris, you want to do the thing about the $20 off?
Oh, yeah, I was going to do something else too.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
really quickly, go, Chris.
Yeah, but if you want to get $20 off, you could buy both of them for the discounted bundle rate that we have going there as well. But also, important to note, shipping is free on the calendar. So what you see in that price includes
Yes.
shipping and handling and everything like that. So there's nothing that's going to be added on aside from the sales tax after that.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah, it's 40, it seems, but it includes the shipping. We're giving that to you, and we're eating that cost ourselves to give
Yeah.
it to you.
just remember,
And
if you're
honestly,
buying a calendar, choose the correct one. We have shipping for US and Canada, comes from a production center over on this side of the pond, and we have shipping to all other countries, which is actually fulfilled from somewhere in Europe to decrease the shipping cost there. So make sure you choose which one you want, either US, Canada, or all other countries for the different options in the drop-down list there. But that's another great
And if
way
you
to support what we do. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, and if you put both of the calendars into your shopping cart, the system should automatically issue you that discount. Do know though, if you add other items besides the calendar, you will see shipping, but it is just the
Ah.
shipping for the additional items over the calendars. The calendars are free shipping. Automatic discount should be applied when both are in there, but if you add additional things from the store, you will see some shipping for just those additional items.
Yep, absolutely. But I do believe, let me make sure we say thanks to the super chats and stuff that came in here really quickly. Maybe we'll speed run some of these questions. SA with a super chat saying, what on the launch schedule in November for the Cape pads? We have a couple different launches coming up in November.
well, I'm sure there's a couple Starlinks in there. I mean,
There are
for
definitely
certain.
There are definitely Starlinks. The next one out of the Cape here from Florida is Falcon Heavy with USSF 44 on October 31st. And then we also have some telecommunications satellites and Starlinks that are planned for November as well, including a notional cargo flight to the ISS.
Gotcha.
That might be here. And then the Falcon Heavy schedule is sort of trying to get around those as well from 39A. So it's going to be a busy end to the year. Let me put it this way. When I drove in this morning, the Cape has officially, as of with this one, done 46 launches this year. The goal several years ago was to ramp up to 48. They're going to blow that out of the water this year with just SpaceX alone. So yeah, cadence is really, really, really going strong here, and it's going to be a strong end to the year. Just some still uncertainties in there, but we've definitely got the Hotbird G that's going up. We've got a couple of other telecommunications satellites for the C-band communication replacement. So yeah, it'll be a busy end to the year from here.
Deal.
Yeah, I'm just looking at next space flight and going, oh yeah, November is going to be busy in retail, so that's going to be fun.
I think we got a little robot there, but Julia was talking about Next Spaceflight. That is a cool app that you can get for iOS and Android. I mean, it's right there on the tin. It'll show you when the next spaceflight is. So if you're interested in tracking those sorts of things, you can definitely check out Next Spaceflight. Beyond that, thank you so much, Brian Blunt. A quick question there. How much has SpaceX saved by reusing the boosters and fairings? I don't think there's any specific hard and fast number.
The closest we've come to it is we know that brand new Falcon 9 sells for roughly 60 million. And we know that a flight proven Falcon 9 was sold to NASA for a science mission for IXP, which launched 10 months ago for 37 million. So that's as much as we got for how much you can save. Yeah.
Nice. Let's see here. Just closing things out. Hey, Robert Ogden, thank you so much for becoming a PadRat member. Appreciate you. And here's a good question that would, I think this is going to be like opinion or speculation. Rough Rider Show. Hey, Rough Riders, good to see you in the stream.
Oh, hey,
Do you think Falcon Heavy will roll out with the fairing without the payload, or no fairing, or an empty fairing? We know we've got that Falcon Heavy coming up, but do you think there will be a fairing involved with it?
Yeah, so this is going to be in relation to the static fire that they will do ahead of time with that. Um, I mean, they would not put a empty payload fairing on top of it. They wouldn't do that. They would either roll out with the fairing on top of it if the U.S. Space Force is okay with that, depending on what the satellite is, if they're okay with that, accepting that extra risk that would come with it, and just how much the timelines are going to be here. It's a definitely good question. The one way that we can answer that is that they will not put an empty fairing on top of it to roll out for static fire. So it would either be no fairing, no payload whatsoever, and go back to get it after static fire, or roll out with the full stack, do static fire, and then launch a couple days later.
Yeah, good deal.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think from my recollection, because it's been a while, y'all, for
Julia,
when
I
we
am
go
going
out
to
there for
guess
static fire,
that your phone is uploading something right now, because we're like totally robot mode when you try to talk. We're not getting anything from you, but we heard what you were sort of saying there. I think your phone or the network or something may be preventing us from getting a good signal from you. Let's see here. I think, folks. Oh, geez. Hey, Chris, you got time for one more question?
One more, yeah.
Okay. Skeeter asks, what's the total number of SpaceX launches and recoveries? Do you have that number handy?
Yes, hang on. Give me 1 second. I know where it is. Hang on. Yeah, I mean, the cadence has been impressive. Like we were saying, like there's already been 5 missions in total out of the Cape just this year. That's not just Falcon 9. Or anything like that. Falcon 9 prior to today, so with today, has done 181 launches, 141 landings, and 119 reflights of the Falcon 9. And on the flip side of that, we've had 3 Falcon Heavy flights for a total of 7 landings and 4 reflights on that side of the system.
All right. You asked, and now you should you should expect an answer from Chris G out there today. But I believe we have spent quite a few times sort of closing things out here, and I think it's time for us to wrap up the stream here. You think so, Chris?
I think so too.
Okay. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. I know sometimes at the end we sort of talk a little bit, but it's like the after party almost. The launch has happened, spaceflight things are still going on, but we are going to go ahead and shut down our commentary for the Starlink launch here. Still going strong over at Starbase, and still going strong on all of our 24/7 streams. Really quickly, thank you so much to Julia Bergeron for being out in the field today. I know we sort of lost comms with her there, but she says thank you to everyone that is watching, and we will definitely most likely see a selfie from her over on Twitter when this booster that just launched today came back into the port. Follow her over on Twitter at Julia Bergeron. Links up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen there. Maybe we can get one into chat that people can click on. But thank you, Julia, for being a part of the broadcast today. Also out in the field, Chris, we still got you on comms. Thank you so much for rolling out and providing us a camera.
My absolute pleasure.
Okay. And lastly here, folks, my name is John Galloway. I will be shutting down the stream here. You don't have to go home. You can stay at any of our 24/7 streams. You're welcome to watch anytime. But wanted to say one more time, thank you so much for making this possible. Without y'all showing up and liking and subscribing and buying calendars and all the different things y'all do to support what we do, that's what makes it possible for us to all cover spaceflight and share these things with people all over the world. So thank y'all so much for being a part of this, and we will see you nerds later.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
The chamber pressure looks good. Following up. Roger, roger, planet.
Water towers can fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight outside SC off. Again, SC off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.